Hello, my name is Phil Aston, and this is Now Spinning Magazine. I presume when I do these update videos that many of you have no idea who I am, and many of you come back because you've been with me for quite a while. This is for people who really, really love music, but love music to a point where you just like to also buy a physical copy of whatever it is you're listening to. That's how it started. We started and we were called What's in Your Music Collection, and it was all about physical media. And it still is. I just changed the name to Now Spinning Magazine because it was easier. And I chose to put the word magazine on the end because Now Spinning obviously is a phrase that's used a lot. Someone said, yeah, Phil, you're not a real magazine. Well, we're listed in the Music Week directory, which is the kind of music Bible in the UK, and we're called an online portal, an online magazine. So we are, and we work quite closely with record labels and PR companies and bands as well. I want to come on to that in a bit. Obviously, a lot of what I do are playlist videos. I talk about my favorite bands, ranking videos, beginners guides. With this review show, I've started to cover hi-fi. There's Cool Classics, where Sue Aston, my wife, joins me, and we also do a series called She Rocks. We're going to do something on Stevie Nicks and Pat Benatar in the future. We've already done Kate Bush. The Cool Classic stuff is to introduce people to classical music because we're also multi-genre as well as multi-format. So I'll show you vinyl records, CD box sets. I love all physical media. So this isn't kind of like just one format, and it's all genres. So yeah, I will talk about heavy metal and rock, but also talk about soul, jazz, funk, blues, whatever takes my fancy. As I've gone through life, my musical tastes have expanded. When I was younger, they were very narrow. Young people today are much better at this. They'll go to a festival and there'll be all sorts of different genres on the same stage. For me, when I was young, it was all one or the other. It took a long time for me to suddenly realise I don't really know what I don't like anymore. There's a review show, and there's lots of album reviews, there's lots of unboxing videos, and there's lots of interviews with some really major stars. I mean, last month I spoke to Glenn Hughes, who's one of my favourite heroes. I've spoke to hundreds of people now, and it's been fantastic for your support in helping me and how Now Spinning Magazine has grown. Our monthly viewers, by the way, are 97,500. So we're closing up on 100,000 monthly viewers. So there's a huge kind of differential between how many people subscribe currently and how many people regularly watch. And I know that's many people that comment. So please, if you can, subscribe and ring that little bell. It really helps with the reach, helps me do more of this, because obviously the more reach means that it's more viable for me to do these. This is my full-time job. I've decided at my late stage in my life on the planet that this is what I want to do. And there are other things that I do, I think, that makes me a little bit different. And there's a music and mental health series, which has really taken off. The last video I did in that series has got nearly 11,000 views at the time of me doing this. And I know a lot of people, when I say phrases like music is the healer and the doctor, really are on board with that, and how music has helped you through some very tricky situations. And I guess when you get to the demographic that the majority of you would make up, the viewers that watch this channel, we've experienced a lot of stuff. We've been through a lot of things, and it's not easy. And some of us are on our own, and some of us are not firing on all six like we used to, and it's a struggle out there. And so I'm very aware that I am very upbeat and positive, but I want this to be a place where people feel safe. So there's no drama. So if you leave a comment here, all comments are moderated by myself. That might seem a bit over the top, but it's no different to me. Like when I first set this up, it's the idea of a few mates sitting around a pub on a Friday having a chat. And I want everyone to feel safe and comfortable that whatever they say, they don't have to worry that someone's going to come around and make a snidey remark. Read the room when you do the comments. Obviously, if people disagree, it's in. But if people come in and start, effing and blinding about something, calling someone an idiot or music's rubbish, then this isn't what we're about. Because whatever the album is, whatever the artist is, there'll be somebody out there where that's your favorite album of all time because it's when you met somebody or something's going on in your life or whatever. And I want you to feel just as welcome to think that I can mention the album because you won't hear me say anything against them. And also, because I live in a house full of musicians, and I am one, and I know a lot of musicians, and I've known lots who are no longer here, and some of them are really struggling at the moment. I don't want to do anything that kind of says anything. When you release some piece of music, it's a child. You might think, oh, it doesn't matter. But it's not like if you've made, what have I got? If you've made this Swiss Army knife and that's what you make, and then someone says, well, those Swiss Army knives are rubbish, and you're just on the production line, you're probably not emotionally attached to it. But if it's a song, you actually created that from your heart, from feelings you have deep inside you, and someone says it's rubbish, it will hurt. I'm sure it will. And because you'll find that most creative people have skin that's paper thin. Anyway, I've gone off that tangent already, haven't I? But that brings me probably to the crux of those of you who think, oh, it's another update video. And it is. But I've reached a kind of, I've mentioned this before, but I think I'm reaching a crossroads here where I need to make a decision on where I'm heading. On doing this as a project, and although I've asked patrons and YouTube members, because I really encourage you to support me at that level because of all the extra benefits you get, which I'll mention in a moment. But it's how I do reviews and how I do what I do, really, because the algorithm, which you've probably seen me do a video saying I won't be bullied by it, so I don't do a lot of clickbaity stuff. Obviously, I do pick some titles because I know it will get a further reach, but nothing like, a lot of things you'll see. And that's not because I feel I'm superior to people who do that. I'm not. I just can't. It isn't me. And I think the only thing you can be in the land and the world of the landscape of AI is be yourself. So you will get quite a few errors from me, but at least I'm a real human. But obviously the channels that do that are way ahead in numbers compared with me, and they're absolutely brilliant at it. And a lot of them are my friends. So we're all in this together. So I have no issue with that. But this is just what I do. But the reason, what am I going to say now? And I think this probably other people probably feel the same in this position is, if I talk about Black Sabbath and Deep Purple, I'll get tons of views and stuff. And I know some people will say, oh, Phil, typical boomer channel or whatever. I can't help the fact that I grew up with Slade on Top of the Pops. I can't help the fact that the first band I went to see was Deep Purple at the Birmingham Odeon on the Burn Tour. I can't reverse that, and I wouldn't want to, because and I know lots of people like to hear me talking about my memories and stuff. But as I've grown up, I've continued to love music, and I've continued to love exploring and finding new bands, new things. That excitement I had, that sense of wonder I had when I went to the pub on a Friday and went, have you ever heard of UFO, for instance, for those of you that demographic, oh yeah. And no, I've never heard of them. And then introducing someone to that. I have not lost that. So a lot of new music that comes across my radar, I still feel like that and want to introduce it to other people. Now, the other thing that I'm very aware of is that when I talk about new bands that are just being the new wave of traditional heavy metal or whatever, which is a great set of music out there, or new heavy metal, and there's new rock bands, new soul funk bands, new jazz bands, new music. It's everywhere. Is that a lot of my friends that I originally grew up with don't buy physical music anymore. So they're going to go, no, I don't know them. And it's a different thing. So that's why this community was born. So a lot of people in the Facebook group and WhatsApp group do get excited. We have our own little WhatsApp group called Explorer, where people drop things in that people stream. Have you ever heard of this band? This might be a new prog band, a new kind of fusion, whatever it is. And people are generally really excited about hearing that music. And I obviously am aware that when I review things, certain things, big box sets, get tons of traffic. And everything works really well. And I've experimented with something called the review show, where because some artists or records were kind of not as well known, I put them together in the review show, and it was a way of bringing in a bigger audience, because people think, well, I've not heard of them, but he's also going to cover that. So I might I'll invest in watching that, and it's been okay. It's been all right, but I'm hesitating now on where we go, and especially with interviews. There's lots of channels. Sea of Tranquility, brilliant channel, Pete Pardo, and Brendan. We do lots of panels together with Grant as well from the Rock Warehouse. I know Andy Edwards has talked about this, and Barry from Classic Album Review, where we interview some really big names, but those videos get less viewers than if the people listening to the album itself. So if I review Steve Hackett album, it gets more reviews than if I'm actually talking to him. And I do feel that I'm not bad at interviewing people. I seem to have a knack for making people say things to me that they've not said anywhere else. But nevertheless, it's a kind of gamble. I know some channels don't even do interviews. But why everybody who comes down on is I really want to showcase new music and new albums. And this is the gamble. Someone said to me in the comments recently, Phil, do you remember when John Peel used to always talk about, he'd do the big stuff, but he'd also highlight some new bands as well on his radio show. And probably hardly anyone listened to it because they didn't know who they were. It's a bit different for John, obviously, because there was no one else was distracted by social media or anything else. But in some ways, it's better for people like me because of social media that you might trip up over it. But one of the things that all YouTubers will say they hate the most is where, and if you're a YouTube person, you'll know this. If you're not, you won't know what it means. But behind the scenes, when you launch a video where you've thought, I'm going out on a limb on this one, I know I'm not going to get that much traction with it, but I want to do it. I feel in my heart I should do what I can for this artist. And the views are down compared to what just came, before it. YouTube will say, fewer subscribers are choosing to watch this video. Sounds innocent? It isn't. It's basically saying, continue to do this and your reach will be pushed down and you won't obviously earn as much money from ads or anything else. It's your choice. People like this, they want to see something that says, the top 10 Deep Purple instrumental tracks. It actually suggested that to me. I might do that, and obviously it will do really well. But I'm thinking, do I do the review show? Or do I take a gamble and just think, what is this all about here? Because there's two ways of looking at it. The amount of new music, and there's some great rock bands out there, for instance, and I get emails from people saying, Phil, do you want to interview this band? And I think, even I'm not quite sure who they are, and I listen to them and think it's really good. If I interview this band, who's going to watch it? What impact will it have? And so should I just avoid it? But I feel like by avoiding it, I'm playing into the hands of an algorithm that's kind of keeping things in a certain way. So I'm thinking I might take a gamble and be a bit John Peely and just think, why not? If 25 people and their dog watch this video, who cares? Maybe the next one is a more obvious one that will bring people in. It's thinking, well, what is the best way of doing that, really? And it's a gamble. It's the same with, so the interviews and doing reviews like this, or just stick them all in the review show. What I have done, and because the other thing that people have said to me is, Phil, you're not really a community. I am. And I think that what gives me the opportunity to say that Now Spinning Magazine is a community is that there's a Facebook group. And yes, you have to be a patron or YouTube member to get in, and that's one of the perks. But there's 1,500 people in there. And then there's a few hundred people in the WhatsApp group. And that, again, is you get access from being a patron or YouTube member. And we have T-shirts and stuff. Okay, and we meet up at a Zoom call at our own virtual pub. So we have that. There is a website with over 235,000 visits a month as well. And we're on social media. So it is a community because it started from there. The YouTube channel came after the community. It started as a Facebook group, actually, quite a few years ago in that respect. But the YouTube channel only really started taking it seriously about 3 years ago. So I'm quite new on the block, although I'm not. I'm certainly not. I'm probably one of the oldest YouTubey people out there as well. So that also puts me in a different perspective on how I'm viewing this, because it isn't about, I know I asked you to subscribe because that helps me get my message across. It helps me reach more people who I believe what I do helps, not just in helping you find things to add to your collection, but hopefully add something to your day to day. And that's a genuine thing, especially with the music and mental health series. But yeah, do I sit there thinking, well, what would it be like if I had 50,000 subscribers? I'm pretty sure if I did have, then I'd be thinking about 100,000. And am I just saying that because of where I am? If I had got 100,000, would I be shouting that from the rooftops? I probably would. But then there'd be 200,000. Then there'd be 500,000 or a million. It's a bit like moving into a big house in a neighborhood. As soon as you get there, you realize there's loads of people who've got a bigger one, or bigger car, better job, bigger salary. It's why a lot of us from my generation don't talk about what we earn, because if you did, you'd find out that the person next to you is earning 4 times as much. All these things, God, kind of strange things, really. This has got to be probably the weirdest update video I've ever done. But I suppose I think what I'm trying to say is I want to keep this genuine from the heart. It is my full-time job. And as long as I get a certain amount from my patrons and YouTube members and a certain amount from the advertising, I have a limit. So a target. So it covers my overheads and I get a bit from it. Then I feel that I should gamble with it a bit. And it is a gamble. If I do a video that literally bombs through the eyes of YouTube initially, then it can literally wipe off 100, 200 pounds a week off what I earn. And that's a lot of money if you're depending on it. And of course, that video might not have that many views. And what help has it actually given that band, that new band? What is it actually given them? It's given them an online review. And it sits there like a seed. And at some point, it might be picked up by somebody and shared again. It might go into a Reddit group, or it might go somewhere else. The record label or somebody might find it and take it somewhere else. And it might take what I do into a totally different audience. It's sowing seeds. And I've had videos that have been 3 years old that I've suddenly started getting all these views because someone tripped over it looking for something else. And I do feel that what I want to try and do, and this is one of these things, I'm saying it because I might do a few of these and think, oh God, I shouldn't have done this, and get cold feet and run away again and do a ranking video on a really well-known band. I probably will continue to do those because people love them, and I can do them without any research because it's all in my head. I've got all this stuff in my head. I can just pick anything off the shelves behind me, or the shelves you can't see, because there are many you can't see, and off I would go. And finally, again, going back to the music and mental health stuff, as much as I want to encourage everyone to continue to support bands and buy physical media, I also want to really help everyone appreciate what you already have. And literally just enjoy what you have. I think one of the saddest things you can hear is someone saying, oh, I've got that and I haven't unwrapped it yet. I've got a box set behind me because I bought it from them, but they'd bought 2 and they'd never opened them. They just thought they might be an investment. And then later on, they'd watched me talk about bands. So that guy would really appreciate this. He'd love it. Yeah, and I bought it. And I played it. I don't have anything that's sealed, do I? I just thought there might be a couple of vinyl albums, but there is nothing else sealed. And they are going to be a subject of a video. But I just want everyone to just appreciate what you have and really enjoy it. Let's do an experiment, shall we? Because you might think, well, go on then. Okay, this whole video is completely unscripted and unrehearsed. And for some of you, you've long gone. You've long gone. This is the most boring guy you've ever met on YouTube. And for others, you're watching because you can't believe someone does this. Right, so where shall I go? I had no idea that I was going to find this. Okay, so this is completely unscripted. So it's Kingdom Come and it's called In Your Face. I haven't played this for years. I have it on CD, and it. Phil, you're doing just vinyl again. Oh, okay. Random CD box set. This is Bernie Marsden. Oh, this is good. Big Boy Blues. This is not that old, is it? Oh, Bernie Marsden. Oh, I miss him. So, so just pick something, pick anything, and play it. Really enjoy it as if you've never heard it before. Sit down, turn that off. Don't start Wikipediaing it or thinking, what else shall I look up? Put it down. Get a cup of tea in your Now Spinning magazine mug, because music always sounds better when you drink out one of these. Always does. It's a known fact. It's a scientific fact. And just listen to it as if you just bought it. You could let me know what you think about that in the comments. Anyway, gosh, I'm not sure if this should go out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of Now Spinning magazine. Remember, music is a healer and the doctor. Keep spinning those discs. Thank you, all of you, and I'll talk to you all very, very soon.